Look closely at these things. The intricate weave of this basket, the deep grain carved into this piece of hardwood, the solid geometry of this cast iron tool. They are beautiful, undeniably so objects that speak a language we no longer seem to understand. Every single one of them is more than just an item. It is a physical record, a tangible archive of human labor and specialized knowledge. Consider the hours spent mastering the perfect knot, or the years dedicated to understanding how wood yields to the blade. These objects whisper tales of skills that were once fundamental to daily existence, skills passed down through generations, yet now feeling strangely foreign in our hyper-efficient, disposable world. What does an object truly tell us about? Is it merely its function, or is it a biography of the hands that made it? We are surrounded by artifacts, monuments to human ingenuity. But we must ask ourselves, what essential knowledge have we allowed to slip through the cracks, and what might happen when those skills are lost forever? The geometry of necessity is perhaps best illustrated in joinery. Consider a dovetail joint, for example. It is more than just interlocking wood. It is a precise mathematical argument rendered in physical form. To cut such a joint to ensure that two pieces fit together flawlessly without relying on modern adhesives or fasteners requires an intimate understanding of geometry and the material itself. This skill demands specialized hand tools, saws, chisels, and gauges, each requiring years of practice mastery. When we compare the meticulous labor of a handcrafted piece to its machine-cut counterpart, the difference is stark. One process involves assembling preformed components, the other requires coaxing structure from raw lumber. The former speaks only of assembly capability, the latter reveals a deep embodied knowledge, a dialogue between the artisan and the grain. These techniques were not merely methods of construction. They were repositories of accumulated wisdom about material science and human dexterity, skills that are rapidly becoming museum pieces rather than living practices. The subtle imperfections left by hand tools, the slight variations in angle or cut depth are signatures of human effort. These marks tell. The story continues with the mastery of fire and form, metallurgy and blacksmithing. To transform raw ore into functional metal required a profound, almost alchemical understanding of chemistry. Smelting was not simply heating rock. It involved controlling temperature gradients to extract vital components like iron or copper. This process demanded both deep chemical knowledge and incredible physical endurance. The resulting metals, bronze implements, hand-forged plowshares, sword blades were testament to human ingenuity under extreme duress. Look closely at these historical tools. Notice the subtle variations in grain and temper. They bear the signature of a hammer blow, not a machine press. This contrasts sharply with the uniform perfection of modern mass production. The difference is profound. One speaks of standardized efficiency, while the other whispers of human intention, skill passed down through generations, and an intimate dialogue between man and material. The smith's craft was thus an embodied knowledge of vocabulary spoken through hammer strikes and bellows breath. These skills were rarely written down, they lived in memory, passed from master to apprentice. This intimate connection between artisan and element remains a powerful echo of a time when true expertise defined a community's very survival. The mastery of form shifts dramatically when we turn our attention to the earth itself, to clay. Pottery, at its heart, is an alchemy of simple materials, wet earth, water, and fire. The finished vessel, often seen as mere decoration, is in fact a sophisticated piece of material science. Before any shaping can occur, one must understand the composition of the local clay. Body, its mineral content, dictates everything from how it shrinks during drying to its final structural integrity after firing. Whether the artisan coiling ropes of earth or throwing a piece on a fast spinning wheel, they are engaging in a dialogue with physics and chemistry. The process demands intimate knowledge of thermal dynamics, knowing precisely what temperatures different clays require to vitrify, and how glazes will react under extreme heat. These lost skills were not just manual techniques, they encompassed an entire material vocabulary, a subtle understanding of stress points, shrinkage rates, and the chemical reactions that transform mud into enduring art. The object's perfection was always contingent upon the artisan's deep respect for its raw components. The mastery of textiles represents an equally profound lost language. Before the industrial sewing machine, clothing and household goods were acts of intensive, intimate knowledge. To create a garment meant understanding not just pattern drafting, but the unique memory of each fiber, be it raw silk, sturdy linen, or soft wool. Artisans possessed deep empirical knowledge, how to dye natural materials using local flora, which roots and barks achieved specific hues, and how those dyes would react to wear and laundering over decades. The stitching itself was a complex narrative of fit and function. A seamstress could assess the drape of fabric by hand, adjusting cuts and tension that modern mass production often overlooks. These techniques required patience and an almost predictive understanding of stress points in material. They were skills passed down through generations, embodying a relationship with raw materials far deeper than mere consumption, a conversation between human skill and natural fiber. Consider the hand-stitched placket or the intricate embroidery details that speak to hours of focused labor. These marks are signatures of human touch, preserving a meticulous craft now relegated to museum pieces. But the story doesn't end with the finished product. To truly understand these lost skills, we must look at the tools themselves. The implement is not merely an extension of the hand, it is often the defining constraint upon human capability. Consider a specialized farming plow or a complex weaving loom. Their very form dictates the necessary knowledge, the precise angle of the blade, the tension required in the warped threads, the rhythmic cadence needed to maintain efficiency. Anthropologists study these implements not just as artifacts, but as blueprints for entire technological and cultural systems. They reveal how specific material cultures demanded specialized, often highly localized skill sets. The tool acts as a physical proxy for institutional knowledge, requiring years of apprenticeship simply to operate correctly. By analyzing the design, the joinery, the weight distribution, the wear patterns, we gain insight into the economic structure and social organization that supported such sophisticated crafts in their prime. For instance, analyzing ancient bronze casting molds reveals sophisticated metallurgical knowledge, a skill far beyond simple smelting. These tools thus map out entire supply chains, from resource extraction to specialized artisan guilds. But the story of these objects is not merely one of mastery, it is also a history of decline. As societies industrialized, the economic calculus shifted dramatically. Suddenly, human skill, the years spent perfecting a joinery technique or blending dyes by hand, became less valuable than mechanical efficiency. The factory floor prioritized speed and scale over nuanced craftsmanship. This shift was accelerated by global markets that favored commodities over bespoke items. Craft knowledge, once protected within local guilds, became vulnerable to the relentless logic of mass production. We began valuing convenience and disposability above durability or unique human touch. What was once a deeply specialized, time-intensive process could be replicated cheaply and quickly elsewhere, effectively devaluing generations of accumulated expertise. The value moved from the skilled hand to the automated machine. Consider the shift from hand-woven textiles to machine-spun synthetics, or bespoke furniture to flat-pack particle board. This wasn't a failure of skill, but an economic triumph of logistics. The global supply chain dictated that efficiency, the ability to move goods cheaply and quickly, became the ultimate measure of value. But history is not a linear decline. While globalization presented powerful forces for standardization, it also created pockets of resistance, a fierce dedication to methods that resist mass production. We find this resilience in modern artisans, the potters, the woodworkers, the bookbinders, who have chosen to keep these demanding crafts alive. For them, the value is not measured by market volume or speed, but by fidelity to process and material. They are practitioners of embodied knowledge, skills that require years of intimate physical apprenticeship. Observing their work reveals a profound tension. They must operate within an economy built on disposability, yet they insist on permanence, the perfect curve of the vessel, the grain of the sustainably sourced timber. Their continued practice suggests that mastery is not merely romantic nostalgia. It can be a viable counter-narrative to industrial efficiency. It proves that human dedication, when focused and disciplined, remains capable of sustaining deep, complex knowledge against overwhelming commercial pressure. These workshops become living museums where time slows down to the rhythm of the chisel or the wheel. They are testament that true value lies in human hands, reminding us that some knowledge simply refuses to fade away. We started this journey by examining seemingly mundane objects: a weaving shuttle, a hand-forged tool, a simple pottery shard. Individually, they are just artifacts of time. But when viewed together, they reveal something far more profound than mere technique. They illustrate the architecture of accumulated knowledge, a complex relationship between human intention and natural material. The skills represented here were never isolated crafts. They were interwoven into the very fabric of community life, a self-sustaining system where expertise was communal, necessity was the master teacher, and waste was an unthinkable concept. To lose these skills is not simply to lose a method. It is to diminish a deep understanding of one's environment and one's place within it. The enduring hand speaks to a profound form of resilience, a capacity for adaptation and intimate knowledge that industrial efficiency often overlooks. Perhaps the greatest lesson these objects offer us is a recalibration, a reminder that true value lies not in speed or scale, but in the deliberate, patient depth of human craft. Consider the grain of wood, the pliability of fiber materials that demand respect and intimate knowledge to transform. To reclaim these skills is to rebuild a mindful relationship with our world.